We've reached the regional round of the Texas High School State Playoffs, and things are getting a little bit narrow. We have a little bit better picture of who might be a state champion, but there are several weeks left to go. With Ryan Osborne, I'm Travis Brown of DFWVarsity.com, and we have kind of two epic moments of last week. I know you were at that Allen win 25-22 over DeSoto with a field goal at the end of the game there.
Yeah, Allen quarterback Kyler Murray was sacked with under 10 seconds left. The field goal unit had to scramble onto the field. They got it off just in time, and it was good. The props to the kicker Sawyer Williams. He was able to drill the field goal, and it was probably a little bit less pressure on him doing it that way than if he got out there and got set, and maybe even if DeSoto took a timeout to ice him. So Allen finds a way, and sometimes you got to have some things go your way, and they did late in that game with a long catch that bounced off two DeSoto defenders. But that's what you do. You find those little breaks and you turn them into victories, and that's what Allen's been doing for the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Also, there's Stephenville's Jared Stidham, who jumped in there. No one expected him to be back maybe until about the state semifinals if they were to get there. Jumps back in last minute and throws for 341 yards and 6 touchdowns. Then also leads the team in rushing with 181 yards and 3 touchdowns as well in Stephenville's 69-60 win over Lubbock Estacado. Just a gutsy performance by him with the hurt hand.
Yeah, and Stephenville needed every last bit of it because their defense has been very suspect, and they're probably going to be another game in the 50s or 60s this week against Big Spring. But yeah, Stidham, he proved why he is one of the best quarterbacks in the country going to Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, let's get into this week's games. We have a very interesting one in Arlington Martin versus that Allen team we were talking about, who had a last-second win there in their last playoff game.
I think Martin, there's some concern probably in their secondary giving up busted plays in the passing game. But when it comes down to it, Allen's going to score points no matter how well the secondary plays, no matter how well the defense plays. It's going to come down to getting turnovers, and kind of what you mentioned earlier off camera is controlling the ball and controlling the clock and keeping this game probably in the 20s, which sounds hard to do, but DeSoto was able to do that. And we saw last week DeSoto in their opening drive did not score a touchdown or a field goal, but they were able to drive down the field and take 6 or 7 minutes off the clock before Allen even got the ball. I think that's a similar recipe. Winning that coin toss, it's a 50-50 thing, but if you win the coin toss, take the ball, Martin runs the ball with Nick Smith, who had 317 yards last week, they would be able to at least control the game. But Kyler Murray, you can't pick against Allen. You just can't, no matter who they're going up against. They've won 39 in a row. They have the best player in the state. So I'm going to pick Allen here. Now, depending on how Martin controls the ball and rushes the ball, and maybe mixing in a little passing with Trey Brown, who's a defensive back playing quarterback, that will decide how close this game is. But I think you have to go with Allen here to advance to the regional semifinals.
That was exactly what I was going to say. Allen, I have Allen winning this one, but if Martin can keep that Allen offense off the field and keep the Allen defense that has been a little more suspect than the Allen offense on the field, running the ball, but the difference is they need to not do their kind of hurry to the line, huddle, let the clock run down, control the ball, score some points. That would be the way they win. I think Allen will pull this one out, though. Mm-hmm. We have Odessa Permian versus Euless Trinity, two storied programs of the state.
Mojo is in the playoffs for the first time since 2009 this year, getting to the third round for the first time in a while. But Trinity is still somewhat the same program that has won state championships and has been at a state championship level. Permian, that was 25 years ago. I think Trinity's on a completely different level here. They looked very impressive against Plano West, and they were able to run the ball and do their thing and also contain Soso Jamabo, one of the best running backs in the state. He still had a great game in the box score, but he wasn't able to hurt them in any way. By the time he started getting big runs, Trinity was already up in complete control, and I think they take care of business on their home field. Should be a pretty comfortable win to get to the regional semifinals where either Martin or Allen will be waiting.
Right. I made the mistake of going against Trinity last week, and I will fully accept that and see that what I said in this Trinity team being young and kind of inexperienced to some of the other Trinity teams that have made long playoff runs, once you get through a regular season, you're not really that inexperienced anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Trinity as well as in this one because I think they have that pedigree and tradition of making those long playoff runs. Finally, San Angelo Central and South Lake Carroll.
This is an intriguing game because first you got to look at the two quarterbacks, Ryan Agnew for South Lake Carroll and Braden Hucks for San Angelo Central. These are two guys who are seniors. They've led these teams. They are undersized players. They're not the highest recruited players, but they have found ways to win. Hucks came back on Arlington Bowie almost single-handedly 3 weeks ago. They were down 21 points, and they were able to tie it, get to overtime, and win in 2 overtimes. So that's a guy who's battle-tested, along with the rest of the Central team, who's 11-1, playing in what I think is an underrated District 3-6A with the Abilene Highs, Abilene Cooper, which is down this year, but you have other teams in there, Midland Lee, Permian. They were able to run the gamut in that district, win a district title. But Carroll is 12-0. I think this is one of the better teams they've had in recent years, and they are coming off a very impressive win over Denton Guyer. And what is underrated about Carroll is their defense. They gave up 42 points to Guyer last week, but they were able to make stops and really take a player in Sean Robinson and their quarterback and throw him completely out of sync the entire game. So I think you got to go with Carroll, their ability to force turnovers and get stops on defense.
Carroll went through the regular season very, very run heavy, relying on Little Jordan Humphrey basically carry the offense. I think they've really come into their own here in the playoffs, mixing up and having a very balanced attack between Agnew and throwing the ball and Humphrey running the ball, but also just having a myriad of wide receivers that he can throw to and that can come up with big catches in key situations. I think Carroll wins this game because of that. Quick no huddle, Stephenville versus Big Spring.
The rubber game between Tobin Tannehill and Jarrett Stidham, two quarterbacks. I'm going to go with Big Spring to win this one by 2 touchdowns. I'm
going to go, after the performance last week, I got to go with Stephenville. El Paso de Valle and Aledo.
De Valle has Steven Montez, a Colorado commit at quarterback. Very solid team out of El Paso, but this is Aledo, and they're rolling right now.
Aledo will roll through this region. I'll have Aledo in that one. McKinney North versus Mansfield Lake Ridge.
North has been one of the better 5A teams. Lake Ridge is the surprise team. I'm going to take Lake Ridge, though. I think they continue to roll behind Jet Duffy.
I tell you what, their passing attack is real good. I'm going to go with Mansfield Lake Ridge. Cantillo versus Azle.
Another solid team out of El Paso and Cantillo, but I think Azle, their defense and their offense with Jamie King at quarterback has really been rolling. They get to the 4th round for the first time ever.
Jamie King is impressive. Azle in that one. El Paso Eastlake versus Everman.
Another El Paso team that is solid. We don't know much about them, but we do know that Everman's going to give the ball to Kier Crossley. He's going to probably have 150 to 200 yards like he does every week. Everman gets the win in West Texas.
I got Everman as well. Abilene versus Cedar Hill.
I think this is an underrated matchup. Abilene is solid. They have a great senior quarterback, but Cedar Hill is firing on all cylinders, and they have so many weapons on offense. You just can't stop them.
The key to that one is, can you run the ball against Cedar Hill? Because they've shown that they've been a little bit weak in that, but I have Cedar Hill in that one. Kennedale versus Argyle. That's a huge matchup.
Yeah, I think Kennedale's a little beat up after playing Athens. They had a big back. Argyle has a big back, too, and Nick Ralston. I think Argyle gets the win and tries to defend its state title.
I have Argyle in that one. Dallas Parish Episcopal in some Tap State semifinal action versus Fort Worth Christian.
I'll go with Fort Worth Christian.
I'm going to go with Parish Episcopal. I believe they beat Fort Worth Christian earlier this year. Temple Christian versus Cedar Hill Trinity.
Temple Christian undefeated for the first time in school history, and I'm going to go with them to continue this role.
Temple Christian knocked out my alma mater, First Baptist, last week, defending state titles.
I think.
I got to go with Temple Christian. That's our high school huddle for this week. Go out and check out some of these great games. It's a great slate this week. Check dfwvarsity.com for the best recaps and stats of those games, and we'll see you next week on the High School Huddle.